Today I'm behind the wheel of a brand new 2021 BMW X3. Now the X3 is one of the best-selling luxury SUVs, and that's because it does so many things well. It looks great on the outside, it's spacious and comfortable inside, plenty of tech, it drives well, and for 2021 it gets slightly better. So if you're interested, let's continue. Before I get started, I want to give a big thanks to Laurel BMW of Westmont. If you're looking for a brand new or used BMW, definitely check them out. Their URL is in the description of this video. Okay, let's start out with the outside. The X3 has a round, curvy body infused with BMW's athletic stance. The front is dominated by large kidney grills that look even bigger in person, and the bumper has a sporty design with some satin aluminum painted pieces. The LED headlights have cornering function, and the fog lights are also LED. The side of the X3 features a high beltline and a sloping roof. The window surrounds as well as the roof rails is a nice satin aluminum color. There's also a few matte black pieces, but they're well hidden. The 19-inch wheels have a really unique and sporty style and a color that works really well with the X3. The back of the X3 features a shark fin antenna, large spoiler, large privacy glass, and large LED taillights. The dual color and design of the rear bumper also has a sporty vibe, and the dual chrome exhaust tips adds to that. Inside, the trunk is spacious and there is a netted area on the left side for things and a 12V outlet on the right side. There's also some hidden storage underneath. On each side, there are levers to fold down the second row seats. The second row seats fold flat and the cargo room expands greatly with them down. Moving to the second row, this X3 is covered with real leather, but it is optional. Standard, you get leatherette. I'm 5'10", I have 3 inches of legroom left behind my driving position and about the same with headroom. And the seatbacks do recline. Passengers get a pair of vents, climate controls, 2 USB ports, and sunshades. Now moving up front, the cabin is filled with luxury and style. The black on black look with some aluminum mixed in really works well. Steering wheel looks good, feels good, and has a good thickness. Buttons on the right control volume, media scrolling, phone, and voice control. Buttons on the left control cruise control. Adaptive cruise control is optional. If equipped, heated steering wheel button is down below. There are also paddle shifters behind. The 12-inch digital gauge cluster is part of Live Cockpit Pro, which this X3 is equipped with. The screen is big and bright and the interface just looks nice. Digital speedometer and tachometer is displayed along with your gauges, time, speed limit sign, location. Also, you can scroll through your trip computer, media, power, drive modes, etc. Now left of this steering wheel, you have some controls for your lights, fog lights, parking lights. There are also 2 memory seat settings. There's a power trunk open button, but it's above the window switches, and you have power folding mirrors. Moving to the large 10-inch infotainment screen, this is part of Live Cockpit Pro, and it is one of the best on the market. The home screen can be configured many different ways, with different widgets that you can configure yourself. The screen is also touch, so you could use your fingers to move between media, communications, navigation, car settings, and apps. By the way, one big change for 2021 is Android Auto is now standard, along with Apple CarPlay. However, there's also a large rotary knob and buttons to control the infotainment screen, which makes scrolling and navigating even faster. It only takes a few seconds to learn, and honestly, I think you can move much faster with this setup than touch. As for safety, the 2021 X3 also gets an upgrade with active driving assistance. So the X3 now gets equipped with emergency braking, collision and pedestrian warning, lane departure warning, blind spot detection, and rear cross traffic alert. Below, you have a row of buttons for presets for settings that you may want to access quickly, along with the app button and also a volume knob. Climate controls is fairly easy to use, 2 knobs for setting climate, a whole row for heated seats if equipped, fan control, and modes. There's also a menu to set certain things, such as when to automatically turn on the heated seats or steering wheel. Very nice. Underneath the slider cover, which in my opinion isn't very smooth, there is a wireless charging pad, a single USB port, cup holders, and a 12V outlet. The shifter, even though it looks very futuristic, still pretty much works the same way, except there is a button for park. There's also manual shifting. When you go into reverse, you get a very nice view of the back, and if equipped with surround view, you get a 360 view of what's around your X3. And take a look at the animation when switching between cameras. It looks outstanding. Next to the shifter, you have a whole row of buttons. There's one for traction control. You have driving modes, sport, comfort, and eco. Then you have buttons for parking sensors, camera, and hill descent. And then you have parking brake and auto hold. There's another USB port inside the armrest. There's HomeLink buttons under the rear view mirror. And if equipped, a giant panoramic sunroof on top. As for engines, there are 3 to choose from, not counting the M variant. To start, you have a 2-liter turbo engine that is producing 248 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. This is the engine in the X3 that I'm driving today. Fuel economy isn't bad, about 25 miles per gallon combined with xDrive, which means it has all-wheel drive. You can also select just rear-wheel drive with this engine. There's also a plug-in hybrid of the X3 that produces 288 horsepower. And lastly, there's a turbo 3-liter engine producing a whopping 382 horsepower. Alright, I'm off. Let's see how good this X3 feels on the road and how it drives. So the first thing I want to comment on, out of all things, is this seatbelt. It's been a while since I've driven a car where there's a motor inside the seatbelt mechanism and it tightens up. So as soon as I started driving, I heard it, I felt it, and it's a weird sensation because in most cars you don't get that. You don't. If you're driving a Honda or Toyota around, you're not going to get this feature. And it's just little things like that that make you feel like you're driving something special. I don't know if it actually helps make this X3 any safer. I really don't, but it just makes you feel like, yeah, this is worth the price tag. Let's talk about visibility and driving position. Both are very good. In fact, visibility is outstanding. This front windshield is enormous, enormous. I can see well past the hood. The windshield is very, very big, and side windows also very big. Blind spot isn't too bad, although the C-pillar does get a little bit in the way, but isn't too bad. And the back window is also good. Even with the headrest up, I could still see back there. So visibility in here is quite good. Driving position is also good. It's quite comfortable. Obviously, this is a compact SUV, so it's not as high as a mid-size SUV, but you still get a good commanding view. It's not very hard to sit in the seat or get out from the seat. It's a good height. Now, I mentioned how this is a compact SUV. Yes, it's classified as a compact SUV. However, here's an interesting fact. This X3 is bigger than the very first X5 that debuted 20 years ago. Do you remember the X5, the very first generation X5? It brought a lot of attention. That was the very first SUV from BMW, and that X5 is categorized as a mid-size SUV. Now, fast forward 20 years later, this X3 is bigger. So with that said, even though this is categorized as a compact SUV, it's plenty big, it's roomy, and it's spacious. Especially up front. Up front, you know, it just feels like a mid-size SUV almost, except you're not as high up. Plenty of shoulder room, hip room, headroom, and with the great visibility, it really feels pretty big and airy in here, and that's a great thing. It's not too bad for adults in the second row either. So overall, you're getting a pretty spacious and roomy SUV with this X3. Besides the great visibility and driving position, this X3 feels really good and comfortable around town. Let's start out with these seats. These front seats, very comfortable. Have good cushion. You can adjust it a million different ways. The bolsters are not too aggressive, yet it's not very big either. It's hugging my back. It's making sure that I'm not sliding around. I like it. Same thing, the bottom cushion, not very aggressive. And you know what? They're very comfortable. They are. The only complaint I have about these seats are the one I'm reviewing does have real leather, but it comes with a price tag. The real leather option, yes, it's an option, costs $1,500. So if you get a standard or base X3, it comes with synthetic leatherette. So you have to pay extra for leather, which I just feel like should be included. But if you get it, it looks good, it feels good, and overall these seats are very comfortable. What's also helping this X3 feel comfortable on the road is the suspension. I think it's a good balance. Where I'm driving, there's a lot of imperfections, just bumps and dips, and I know most of you guys probably have a commute just like this, and it feels quite good. The suspension is soaking things up. It's not the softest or most comfortable suspension, and that's because BMW tweaked it so that it gives you a sporty feel too. So around corners and bends, you don't have too much body roll. It feels controlled. Yet, when you're just going straight, you're cruising along, things still feel quite comfortable. So I like the suspension setup in here, and that's usually a trait for BMWs, that the suspension is just tweaked so well, has a good balance between comfort and sport, and that's what you get on this X3. The brakes are a little twitchy and hard to control. The pedal feel is fine. It's not stiff and it's not mushy, but as you're, pushing it and trying to get a smooth stop, I feel like there's a little bit of back and forth going on. So it's not quite linear. It's not quite smooth. I'm sure you can get it smooth after some practice, but it feels like a little twitchy to me. So you just have to get used to that. Okay, so I just tested out acceleration. Not my usual test, but I went from about 30 to 60, and keep in mind I'm in comfort mode right now, and it's okay. Wasn't too lively, wasn't too slow. The sound installation was quite good. The engine, despite the fact that it was redlining, wasn't that loud. So sound installation, at least under the hood, is quite good. So I'm gonna try that test again, but in sport mode, and try it more from like 10 to 60 and see how it compares in a little bit. Now, I just mentioned about sound installation, which is quite good in some areas. Other areas, it could be better. So for example, under the hood, very, very good, because I really can't hear that engine at all. No exhaust noise, no wind noise of any kind, but I am passing a lot of cars today, and I do hear it. When the cars pass by, I do hear it. So it's good, but it could be better. Oh, another thing is I don't hear anything from the road either, so that's also good. Okay, so in sport, there's standard, there's plus, and you could configure it individually. So if you go to configure individually, you could adjust the steering, engine, and transmission. So I'm just gonna leave it in Sport Plus and see how acceleration is. Honestly, in Sport Plus, acceleration didn't get any faster. I thought it would make a difference, since I know on Audis they make a big difference, but on this X3, no, it felt the same. And it, quite honestly, it's very, very annoying to drive in Sport Plus, because the transmission just doesn't shift. It keeps holding the gear, and it holds the revs way too high, to a point where it's just very, very annoying. So I'm gonna try standard, sport standard, and see how it compares. Yeah, sport standard is much more livable. So I'm traveling about 45 miles per hour. The transmission is It's holding its shift a little bit longer, but overall it's still shifting. Where in Sport Plus, it just wouldn't even shift at all unless you're just redlining. So I would say if you wanted to live in Sport Standard, perfectly normal, it's comfortable, but Sport Plus, no, it just wouldn't work. Now, I didn't talk about steering yet. Steering is a mixed bag, and I'm really surprised by this because this is a BMW. It's supposed to be the ultimate driving machine, right? The suspension is really nice, but the steering's kind of mixed. It has a good weight to it, but it's not very precise, and that's strange. So look at how much play is in the steering wheel, and I feel no input in this X3 right now. This is just a ton of play in the steering wheel. So kind of disappointed by that. In case you're wondering, yes, Android Auto has been added. It's standard now. That was one of the biggest complaints about the 2020 model, how Apple CarPlay was standard, but Android Auto was not available. But it is now. It's standard, so there's no worries. And also, Sirius XM was added too. So, big improvement for 2021. Now, as for the cabin, just kind of reflecting, it's a really good-looking, stylish, and luxurious cabin. The only caveat is I think it's just too busy. The use of wood and aluminum and piano black trim, I think it works really well. It makes you feel like you're driving something special. The thing is, there's just a ton of buttons everywhere. There's a ton of buttons everywhere. You have a button for your safety feature, your hazard light, of course, right? And then you have a whole bunch of preset buttons, scrolling, mode, band, right? Underneath the climate control, you have a ton of buttons for your fan control, your heated seats, also your menu, your defroster options. And then inside your, or on top of your center console, same thing. You have a buttons for your infotainment screen, you have buttons for your drive modes, right? You have button for your camera, your hill descent. I would prefer a more minimalistic look like what you find in Volvo XC60 or even a Tesla, which is extreme minimalistic, but I think, yeah, it's just a little bit too busy for me. As for pricing, the X3 starts at $43,000 for the rear-wheel drive version and $45,000 with the all-wheel drive version. This is with the base engine. The plug-in hybrid X3 starts under $50,000 and the performance M40i starts over $56,000. As for features, you'll find them in one of three packages. For example, the panoramic moonroof and lumbar support is found in the convenience package. And if you move up to the premium package, which is included in the one I'm driving today, has heated front seats, heated steering wheel, live cockpit pro, heads-up display, along with everything else in the convenience package. And the executive package adds on even more, like gesture control for the infotainment screen, parking assistant plus, adaptive LED lights, auto high beam, ambient lighting inside, and even more. To conclude, the 2021 BMW X3 is one of the best compact luxury SUVs you could buy today. It looks good on the inside and outside, it drives nice, feels comfortable, is spacious and functional, and offers all the latest tech goodies. However, most features that you find in the X3 comes packaged within a very pricey optional package. This includes $1,500 just for real leather seating. And some features like heated seats and auto high beam headlights aren't even standard. I'm giving the 2021 BMW X3 a score of 96. To see how it ranks among its peers, check out driversonlyrankings.com. Thanks for watching, hit the like and subscribe to the channel for more reviews, first looks, and news.